He was mad and confused. How could she be like this? He felt things he could not even name. She was like a tiny star that never quit, even in that cold, dark house. Her kindness for the weak gave Burmark a warmth he had never felt before. From then on, he vowed to protect Tifria no matter what. He endured his mother's attempts to kill her instead of running away. To keep her safe, he stayed loyal, though Mom never meant for Tifria to live. Now he's begging Ray again. Tifria's life matters more than his. He demands they take his blood for her. Rai finally agrees to the plan, but there is a catch. He makes it clear Burmart is not dying today. He will find a fix while Tifria's heart is still beating. A servant crashes in and Burmart loses it over the intrusion. But then the news drops. Mother just rolled up at the gates with a whole army. Rai realizes that massive energy spike earlier was her. Why the hell is she showing up out of the blue? Burmart tells Rai to watch Tifria while he faces Mother, but Rai steps up to handle the mess himself. Bur warns him Mother will literally kill a human the second she sees one. Rai is going anyway. Burmart cannot win this, and her pure blood is a lucky break. He darkly jokes that even poison can be a cure if you use it right. Outside, Mother starts wrecking the place with some seriously insane power. Explosions everywhere, screams too. A terrified servant begs for mercy as a dark shadow looms. A red-eyed monster mocks him for bringing filthy blood home. Mother rants that she should have wiped out Tifria and her crew ages ago. She tells her kids to kill everyone and drink up. Ray shuts that down with a blast of blue magic. His magic blows the courtyard wide open. Ray faces Mother, telling her she is every bit the villain he imagined. Mother laughs at his guts for throwing magic her way. Then, she takes a real close look. She mocks Burmart for letting a human into the house. She orders the elders to grab the brat, and they scramble to obey. Rai clears the room with another mana burst. Mother claps back by dropping a massive fire spell called Flame Strike. Ray's eyes light up as he gets his counterattack ready. He is actually shocked she is pushing back this hard. Mother just laughs, amazed a low-life human can use such high-level spells. But she claims he is still just a bug before her dark power swallows him. Rai feels some serious demonic energy building. Mother shifts into her hideous true form and promises his life ends right here, right now. She lets loose a demonic storm. Rai realizes she is modding her body with forbidden energy, the kind only dark mages and necromancers touch. He sees that for a vampire to use that kind of power, she is more than just a queen. He calls her out for caring more about power than her own kids. Mother laughs at his ego. Humans just do not get it. She says this power came from mysterious higher-ups and claims all the killing is just their will. Ray asks who they are. She claims she was handpicked by ancient gods who have been watching the world forever. She brags that only someone worthy of ruling over every sacrifice gets a gift like this. Yelling that the world is ending, she pumps pure darkness into one final, massive spell. She drops Nightfall, a massive black sphere that hangs over the house. It is literally ripping the ground apart, total chaos. Rai sees she is ready to trash her own home while she gets high on all that power. Ray just shrugs at her power. Then, he makes one tiny move with his hand to shut it down. With that one gesture, the giant black ball just implodes. Mother is stunned. She watches her ultimate spell turn into dust. Mother panics. Rai just deleted an 8-circle grand spell which took almost all her juice just by closing his hand. Terrified, she realizes Rai is on a whole different level. He tells her that her gains were always Burmart's losses. She considers running, but Ray calls her dreams garbage. He snaps that Burmart was never a son, just a slave. Rai slams her for calling mass murder the cost of doing business. He shows her a vision that absolutely breaks her mind. He nods. Yeah, everything definitely has a price. Ray tells her it is finally time to settle the bill. He delivers a lethal blow, then calls in a massive blast of magic to finish the job. After the dust settles, Tifria gets a transfusion from Elamor's remains. Slowly, she actually gets enough strength to sit up. Tifria feels awesome and thanks Rai while Burmart rushes over. Looks like these two are finally getting along. Burmart is acting like a worried parent, and word on the street is the Nightborn clans are all Team Tifria now. Burmart officially thanks Rai for saving the Nightborn. Rai just shrugs it off, he only did what had to be done. Rai worries he played God a bit too much, but he trusts them now. Burmart promises he will pay back the favor one day. Burmart and Tifria tell Rai he is always welcome. Their doors are wide open if he ever comes back. That gloomy old house is seeing the sun again. A new, brighter era is finally starting. Ray's legend is now locked in Nightborn history. Meanwhile, in a tiny village, elders are stressing over a problem with zero solutions. One guy cries that 2 of his kids are already sick. He is terrified the whole village is going to burn. One guy vents that this pricey holy water actually made the sick villagers feel way worse. They worry about going broke and losing the priest's magic touch. Backed into a corner, the guys are losing it because things are just getting messier by the minute. Ray, rocking his new mask, takes a shortcut through the sticks and spots a sketchy village hidden way off the beaten path. As the sun sets, he looks for shelter and meets a tired local. Ray sees the guy is dying, and the man realizes that Ray is an outsider. The dude claims he is just an adventurer from another town nearby. Ray clocks the obvious illness. He asks what is up, but the man gets shifty and blames poverty, making Ray suspect a lie. Ray calls it like he sees it. The guy is poisoned, and he is totally stunned. The villager leans in and whispers that some priest recently rolled into their town. This priest banned talking about the poison, but the local says it is getting unbearable. This place used to be rich. Then kids got sick, everyone followed, and they started dumping cash on the priest for some fake medicine. Ray is like, seriously? The villager explains the priest swaps his magic holy water for whatever they have left. Ray wants a meeting, but the guy says the priest is at the chief's pad and warns him off. Apparently, this priest hates surprises and can be real trouble. Ray smells a scam or something way deadlier. Ray connects the dots on this village's nightmare and decides he is going to fix it himself. The grateful guy offers Ray a spot to crash for the night since he is helping. Heading home, Ray realizes this priest is just a traveling fraud. Real medicine would have fixed these people by now. Ray knows this level of poisoning is not an accident. He stays to find a cure, then spots something weird. Something stinks. Ray follows his nose to the town well, looks inside, and what he finds is straight up terrifying. Sunset hits. Ray locks in, using his powers to scan the water for whatever is hiding there. It is official. The well water reeks of poison and something called magi, a dark energy mixed in the deep. Why is this stuff here? Ray wonders what kind of sick game is actually going down. The dose is tiny, but it is a slow killer. Eventually, everyone drinking this water is going to die. This is not about wiping them out instantly. This is personal. One person is picking them off one by one. Ray figures it out. Poison the well, then sell the antidote as holy water. Classic scam. That new priest is the snake. Ray decides to end this before it makes the whole holy nation look trash. A few days pass. A bird with a stone flies by, showing that time is running out. Kids and old folks are getting wrecked, while the healthy adults hold on. Ray sees the toxin is eating their guts alive. Immunity is shot because they are starving. Poverty is making the weak groups die off way faster. So the answer is simple. Good food will help them bounce back. Ray tells the crowd that since this magi stuff is weird, the priority is eating big to boost their immunity. People are hyped. They think the outsider cooked up some massive feast from beasts he hunted in the wild. Everyone lines up with bowls, thanking Ray for the food. He tells them to dig in, but some confront the chief about his lies. The chief awkwardly asks for some of the meat soup, and Ray nods. Ray says the hungry chief should eat, but then clarifies he meant the guy should take the whole pot. People call the chief greedy. He panics and admits he is just following the priest's orders. Ray's eyes go wide. The chief says the priest called the food poisoned and ordered it all trashed. The crowd loses it. The priest promised holy water cures, but now he wants them to starve? Total garbage. The chief begs them to chill for his sake, but they scream about the food until someone finally shuts them up. Ray confirms this bearded guy is the chief and tells him to give up the food. Ray asks if the chief is being extorted, making the man flinch hard. That denial feels totally fake to Ray now. Defeated, the chief lets Ray take the food, and Ray gives a nod. A family looks totally drained as the vibe gets heavy. Ray watches the nervous crowd while hunger starts eating their souls tonight. A holy knight tells the priest the locals are fighting back, and the report to HQ is way overdue. The priest says it is not time. Writing takes too long, and he is worried the villagers might actually revolt. So the knight agrees to wait. The priest asks how the vibe is. Turns out the locals are starving and ready to riot any second now. Laughing, the priest mocks the village for trusting some random. He says hiring mercs was smart since the chief is shaking. He looks at his stash of holy water and cuts sales since everyone is broke. Why do his bosses even care about this dump? Someone asks why he does not cook up real holy water, considering the cash. The priest laughs. Too much effort. He grins, admitting that if he says it is holy, people buy plain old tap water. That night, Ray eavesdrops as they plan to pump more poison into the well all next week. They are planning to wipe the whole village out without a single trace. The knight calls the priest nuts. Suddenly, Ray steps out, asking what their deal is and who exactly is pulling all the strings. He says he heard the whole thing and flashes a document he took from a soldier. Do not even try denying it. The priest sees the gig is up. He mutters that there is no point in lying anymore. He lunges to kill Ray, yelling he never intended to let him walk. But Rai just shrugs. He saw it coming. Rai says he will get the truth one way or another. Then, this massive, terrifying ghost power flares up behind him. The priest is shaking. Ray orders him to tell the truth, no more lies. He starts simple. Did you personally make the poison? The priest says no. Rai notices the code on that paper looks familiar, which leads to another question. Rai asks if he is tied to a group called Proxia. The priest looks absolutely terrified. The priest starts babbling nonsense. Rai feels something is off and tells him to shut his mouth, fast. A curse hits. The priest transforms, chanting for blood. He screams about killing the goddess before literally blowing himself up. A massive explosion rocks the entire building. Ray is covered in blood, standing there in shock. What the hell just happened? Quick recap. After leaving the vampire lands, Rai found this sick village. He realized the well water was packed with poison and dark energy. He made food to boost everyone's immunity, but the priest told him to throw it all in the trash. Rai got suspicious and started tailing the priest for info. The priest dies from a curse. Back in the present, Ray sees most villagers will recover, but the severe cases definitely need more than just improved immunity to survive. He needs holy water to fix this, but the priest was selling fake stuff the whole time. Then it hits him. Maybe he could just make some real holy water himself? If everything is just mana, and holy power kills dark energy, then it should work. He figures he can pump his own mana into the well to kill off the poison. He acts fast, reaching into the water to try and create holy water. A massive beam of blue energy shoots skyward as the spell kicks in. Ray's DIY holy water actually works. The villagers are healed and their symptoms just disappear. Later, Ray heads out with the surviving knight tied up. The guy is shaking, wondering if he is about to die. Everyone is calling Ray a hero for saving them. He plays it cool, saying he will personally take the knight to a temple. Then he remembers something else. The chief hands Ray a bottle from the priest's stash as thanks. Ray realizes it is some emotional liquor. This stuff is legendary. Brewed by Master Curvin, it actually changes flavor based on how the person drinking it feels. Rai knows nobles pay a fortune for this. He is shocked to find something this rare in a dump like this. Later, Rai looks at the knight. He asks if he is going to blow himself up like the priest did. The guy is baffled. The knight swears he was just in it for the cash. Rai figures if there was a curse on him, he would have gone boom already. Then Rai starts grilling him about that bottle of liquor. The knight cracks. He says the booze came from people called Wagam. Rai thinks these Wagam are likely Proxia's messengers or even their executioners. The knight says those guys had insane power and a terrifying vibe. Ray is confused because the Proxia he knew never had anyone called Wagam before. The knight nervously asks what is going to happen to him now. Ray says he is going to the Holy Nation to pay for his crimes. Suddenly, a voice tells him to freeze. A cloaked figure demands Ray hand over the goods. A bunch of hooded Wagam appear, and the knight nearly loses it. Ray figures these are the Wagam. He asks if they are here for the fancy liquor he just got. Lead Wagam snaps that saying no means a death sentence. The shaking knight pleads for Ray's help, swearing he's an ally. Mid-plea, the guy gets taken out. Just like that. Then the creep turns to Ray, "You're next." Ray ducks as a purple blade whizzes by. He swings back with a blast of blue energy. One down, plenty more to go. The thing stands back up, eye glowing purple, tougher than a human. Ray hits it with another blue energy wave. Boom. Huge purple explosion. Ray knows his aim was perfect, straight for the base of the neck. But the monster doesn't even flinch. No way this thing is a normal human being. One goon yells that Ray is a problem and calls for backup. Ray's done playing. Time to go full power. Intense blue light floods the room. Ray casts a spell called Hold, summoning glowing chains from thin air. The chains wrap tight, leaving the monster trapped and thrashing. Ray figures these guys have a kill switch if they talk, so he tells the prisoner to take a message to his boss. He sends the bound Wagam packing. But as he steps through a portal, the guy just explodes under a curse. Ray is left staring at the mess. Damn, the curse pops if they talk or if they are followed. Ray's plan to track them just went up in smoke. Checking the pieces, he gets a bad vibe. Looking closer, these bodies aren't human. They are hollow shells filled with weird glowing liquid instead of guts. Then a smell hits him, something he's definitely smelled before. It's emotional liquor. Meanwhile, elsewhere, merchants are complaining that the northern border taxes are getting way too expensive. Inside a shop, a guy notes that even with taxes, the profits look good. Hardman Carlson, the big boss of the guild, shrugs off the costs and goes back to his steak. Hardman stops the bad magic tool shipments. He demands complaints be filed because his guild doesn't sell junk. Period. Reputation is everything, he says. Just donate the broken stuff to the Academy's engineering department so the kids can practice. Ray walks into Hartman's office, and the two buddies catch up immediately. Ray mentions he isn't a saint anymore. Hartman brags about how massive the guild has grown since they last met, and Ray gives him props. Hartman gives credit to the Grand Master, then asks what Ray needs. Ray says he's looking for a favor. Ray pulls a bottle of emotional liquor out of his bag and asks if it looks familiar. That's an appraisal elixir, Hartman says. Ray asks him to track where these bottles have been going for 3 years. Hartman says he can do it, but there's a catch. No records exist for the past year. Ray digs deeper. Hartman explains that since the master artisan Curvin vanished, all production just stopped cold. Hartman's face goes pale as it clicks. Ray tells him to dig through every backroom deal and private sale from the last year. There is definitely more going on here. Hartman gets the vibe. He agrees the Holy Kingdom might be up to something they really can't overlook. He vows to use every spy he's got. The investigation kicks off right then and there. Hartman's reach is everywhere: ports, smuggling dens, and fancy noble parties across the whole map. His team hits the books, checking every shipping log and record to follow the elixir trail. With the search on, Ray looks closer at the broken Wagam body. It is basically a machine. No veins, no spine, and zero human organs. Just cold, mechanical parts. He realizes Wagam are just empty shells powered by that elixir, which is actually just concentrated dark mana. Holding a fragment, Ray wonders if this is the black magic everyone's so scared of. Then it hits him. They're pumping this dark stuff into people to turn them into bioweapons. He looks at the poisoned well again. Maybe those tiny traces of toxin in the water were part of the plan. Ray stops himself, no need to jump the gun just yet. He decides to keep studying the robot body to understand this new threat. Days later, a scout bursts in to tell the Grand Master they've finally found what they were looking for. The guy explains that the shipping route changed a year ago. It stopped being a luxury item for the rich nobles. Now, every single delivery is heading straight for Gaia temples all over the continent. Ray's stunned. These elixirs were always used for holy ceremonies, so it seemed normal at first. But now, there's a massive problem. Everywhere these bottles show up, weird monsters follow. And they aren't just hanging out, they're tearing into civilians. Also, Gaia priest gear turned up on monsters, so now everyone's pointing fingers at the Holy Kingdom without a shred of evidence. Ray figures out those elixirs and monsters being linked is no accident. Proxia is totally manufacturing chaos for the Holy Kingdom. Ray tells Hartman to buy up every single new elixir using his own cash. He tells Hartman to avoid any beef if things get tense, but Hartman is left wondering what Ray's master plan is. Ray says he is going to the papal court personally. At the papal court, Bishop Eckley demands the latest intel on the recent monster attacks. A lackey says temples are trying to handle the fallout, but this mess is about to blow up into a global disaster. Eckley says that some countries are already ditching their treaties with the Holy Kingdom. He wants proof linking the priests to these monsters. There is zero proof yet, but he is certain someone is running a massive scam against the Holy Kingdom. Someone screams that Proxia is back, scaring everyone. Ray walks in and Eckley gives his old friend a warm welcome. Eckley confirms Ray is back and asks what he knows about Proxia. Ray drops the evidence. Eckley can't believe Proxia is back, but it's clear their spies are already hiding inside temples all across the land. They are making the Holy Kingdom public enemy #1. Ray says there is no more time to waste. We have to declare war now. Word travels fast, hitting the palace like a ton of bricks. House leader Trey Zeke is losing it because the saint is back. Over at the Dene house, they're whispering about Ray heading to court. They know something heavy is going down. Trey wants to track down Ray and offer his support immediately. But Euclid says to keep it cool. Since the saint is moving in the shadows, they shouldn't get in his way. Meet Velacro, another boss. Trey agrees to chill until the saint actually gives the signal. Hung Yang agrees, but So Young brings up something else. She wonders if the saintess even knows about this whole mess. The saintess Ariel is in her room, just staring silently out the window. At the big emergency meeting, Eckley brings up those recent mutant attacks. He explains that the world is blaming them, and some countries are even ripping up their treaties. They need a plan to fight back now. Mutants wearing priest gear turned suspicion into a sure thing for everyone else. Someone is definitely framing the Holy Kingdom. While everyone whispers about the culprit, Ray points the finger straight at Proxia. Ray breaks it down for the assembly. What exactly are hidden swords? They are creepy biological weapons that look human but have no real organs or nervous systems. He reveals that a special booze was the secret ingredient used to manufacture these hidden swords. Ray explains how demon energy in the booze bonds with human emotions. It literally turns their bodies into fuel for dark magic rituals. Proxia bribed temple insiders to mess with the whole supply chain. They hid the booze in ceremonial wine. People who drank it turned into Proxia's mindless puppets. Now, every temple in every country looks like a factory for monsters. And now the Holy Kingdom is taking the heat for its priests. It was a setup by Proxia to make the kingdom everyone's favorite target. The clergy are losing their minds. How is Proxia alive? How does Ray know? Ray tells them about his time as a traveling healer. He tells them about a remote village with a poisoned well full of demonic energy. He found a shady priest selling fake holy water to villagers. Once that priest mentioned Proxia, a curse made him explode. Later, while guarding a shady night, Ray's squad got jumped by those same creepy hidden swords he just talked about. Ray holds up a piece of a shell as proof. He warns that Proxia is a threat to the entire world and they need to move now. Some noble asks what kind of response Ray is talking about. Eckley follows the plan and officially declares a holy war to expose Proxia's scheme. The nobles are losing it just hearing the name Proxia mentioned again. But they know a holy war won't fix their trashed reputation overnight. Even if the saint is back, they're still in a tight spot. The Holy Kingdom is totally out of clout. To crush Proxia, they need their neighbors to actually help out for once. Suddenly, a hero steps up. Ariel announces she is personally hitting the road to visit every temple and royal court abroad. She will explain the mess and fix their reputation, leaving the whole assembly stunned. Ray smiles and calls her name. Having her on the case is easily the best move. The council hands the keys to the saints, and Eki finally calls an end to the meeting. Ariel heads out, but a voice stops her. It is Rai, looking awkward as he thanks her for speaking up. Ariel just shrugs and says she was only doing her duty. She points out that things must be pretty dire if he finally came back after that ugly exit. She is just doing her best her way, telling Rai they each have a job to finish. Ray goes quiet for a second. Then, he admits she is totally right. They trade a quick take care before she heads off. Rai nods silently as Ariel disappears down the long hallway. Ray summons the Divine Guard and asks if Hong Yong has shown up yet. Hong Yong pops in with an apology and a welcome back. Rai just tells her it is good to see her. Ray checks that she is up to speed, then orders her to round up the 3 families for a mission. He also demands the fastest guards protect Ariel and insists on an instant update if even one thing goes sideways. We drop into a creepy underground lab. Bodies are lined up on stone benches like some sick science experiment. Hooded freaks laugh about the Holy Kingdom declaring war. To them, it is just a desperate, pathetic last gasp. They claim this war changes nothing since their seeds are already in the temples, all while torturing some poor, restrained guy. Someone asks what the kingdom will do next. One cultist reports the saints are heading out as messengers. Their leader acknowledges Ariel is the true face of the kingdom, making their target painfully obvious. He declares that Saint Ariel is going to be their very first sacrifice. A cultist warns that Ariel is a sword master who can heal the dead. They all saw her god-tier power last war. The cult admits that basic hidden swords won't stand a chance against her or her massive holy army. Their boss orders his goons to bring him that special item known as the bone. He says you need a legendary blade to hunt a tiger, hinting the bone has that exact kind of power. They place the bone on a red cloth. He hungrily demands they hand it over while a cultist begins chanting dark, wicked spells through the artifact. The ritual gets intense with creepy chanting over a mysterious shrouded body. They use the bone for a resurrection, pumping a woman wrapped in bandages full of pure dark energy. The leader yells that the era of the dead has arrived, calling for the world to drown in rot. Suddenly, a purple shard shatters with an explosive force. A blinding flash of purple energy completely fills the dark room. The cultist cackles, bragging that they have finally created something truly insane. A bandaged female demon rises, looking like everyone's worst nightmare come to life. Then, we cut to a sunny city skyline. In a nearby room, the team is all gathered. Uklawwood thanks Rai for bringing the 3 houses together. A teary-eyed Trey says they have been waiting for this. Ray just greets them, saying it has been way too long. He breaks it down. The Holy Kingdom is officially at war with Proxia. He has unique jobs for everyone. Trey and Uklo swear to follow his lead and give it their all. Ray tells Uklaw to use the Belroy spy network to track Proxia in real time and report any tiny movement. He tells the Divine Guard to sniff out and eliminate any Proxia spies still hiding in the kingdom. Finally, Ray tells Trey they are teaming up. Trey is absolutely hyped to go on a mission with him. Rai explains that sketchy contraband is moving through the north border. He is specifically worried about some weird sensory liquor shipments. He admits they are not 100% sure yet, but all signs point to a hidden sword factory. They have to go in and shut that place down personally. Trey shouts that he will follow Rai to hell and back. Rai tells everyone to move out and do their jobs. Night drops over the forest and the mission is on. A cloaked Ray and Trey creep through the woods as Ray feels something. He picks up that same nasty demonic energy from the swords and liquor. It is coming straight from an underground hatch. This is the spot. Trey offers to take point, but Ray stops him and tells him to hang back. A creepy light flickers at the door. Yeah, that means trouble. Ray yells for Zeke to move as something jumps from the dark. A mangy wolf thing lunges, but Ray blasts it with a glowing blue strike. His attack shreds the beast instantly. Trey asks if that thing was a monster, and Rai says it definitely isn't your average stray. Checking the body, Ray figures it is a dog modified, like those hidden swords, basically a biomagic beast. He decides they have to check out what is inside. Suddenly, a whole pack of red-eyed wolves creeps out of the woods toward them. Ray wonders if they are trespassing, but Trey notices something even bigger is coming their way. Massive hounds join the pack, making things way worse. Ray realizes these things are moving like they are under a spell. It is magic control. Trey offers to take them all on and charges in before Ray can even tell him to wait. Ray shouts for him to look at what is happening to the dead wolf. The other wolves are eating the fallen beast. They are obsessed with the nasty stuff leaking out of it. Rai feels a gross, growling power as the infection starts to spread. He gets it now. Animals eat the dead monster and turn into beasts themselves. He senses even nastier demonic energy deeper inside the facility. Ray knows if they do not stop this, hundreds of monsters will escape. He tells Zeke they are going in. Just then, a creepy dude in a hood shows up. He mocks them for breaking in. Rai demands to know who he is, but the cultist says it does not really matter. Surrounded by his freaky pets, the cultist tells Rai and Zeke they are standing in front of his toys. Rai calls him a monster tamer, and Zeke once again insists on handling this fight alone. Rai lets him take the lead. Zeke promises to wrap this up fast. The tamer just smirks at the kid's ego. Zeke pulls out a glowing gold sword, bummed that Rai will miss the show. Meanwhile, Ariel's fancy carriage rolls down a forest road on her mission. Sitting inside, Ariel thinks about how she was way too cold to Rai back then. She admits she is not even sure why she stayed so mad and distant for so long. Sure, she was ticked off, but deep down she never actually hated or blamed him for anything. She clenches her fist, wondering if she actually forgave him like she thought. Seeing him after 7 years brought every buried emotion rushing back at once. Staring out the window, she finally figures out what is actually going on in her head. Ariel realizes she still has feelings for Ray. Her eyes glow in the light as the truth finally sinks in. The carriage pulls up to the kingdom of Pyro, and her guards tell her they have arrived. She steps out to start her diplomatic mission. Bathed in light, Ariel looks ready to take on the world. Back in the creepy lab, Ray figures they would have been cooked if he had not shown up. The place is huge, filled with bodies, creepy ritual circles, and massive specimen tanks. This lab is way bigger than he expected. He spots all kinds of freaky animals and monsters being kept in those tanks. Some are already full-on demons, and they jump him the second he moves forward. While fighting, Ray notices the magic circuits here are basically identical to the ones he felt from that old enemy, Wim. He also sees these things do not have any sensory liquor in them. They are being made differently. Ray realizes this isn't the only lab. There are probably facilities like this all over the continent mass-producing monsters. He really wants to figure out the main trick they are using to build these things. He tries to scan the dark circuits, but fails. Turns out, you cannot just read dark magic that easily. Rai switches it up, charging a massive blue magic technique that wraps around his entire body. At the same time, Zeke goes wild with a flaming sword attack against the Tamer's army. The cloaked guy is impressed by Trey Zeke's speed and aura, but Trey warns him to save the talk. He points his sword and says the Tamer is next. The masked guy identifies Tracy Zeke. He notes the kid just became a master but has already grown remarkably fast. The enemy decides it is time to warm up. He tosses his cloak aside and gets ready to rumble. Trey is stunned. He realizes this fake monster tamer is actually a high-level swordmaster, and the guy is finally introducing himself. A massive slash rips through the ground as the real fight finally kicks off. During the clash, the masked man says he is the 5th seat of Proxia while hitting Trey hard. He brags that he is one of the 6 bosses of the Black Chamber, holding down the 5th seat. Their energy slams together as Trey and number 5 trade some absolutely insane, overwhelming sword strikes. Trey figures out he is just a proxy, but the dude gets vague and says enough with the chatter. The 5th seat turns into a literal flying beast and dives for round 2. Trey doesn't back down, meeting that dive with a massive, blazing counterattack. Mid-fight, Trey realizes this freak is moving way too fast and is basically impossible to read. Trey takes a hit and realizes this guy isn't just fast, he is stupid strong. Look at that beastly style. It is some wild, messy swordplay. Trey ignores the trash talk about how weak he is while the guy tells him to hurry up. Trey doesn't care. He says, fine, time to go all out, and starts sheathing his sword. He summons a blade of pure energy, making the enemy laugh and ask if that really changes anything. They charge again, power clashing hard. Number 5 shouts that Trey's new little tactic is a total waste of time. Suddenly, 5 sees Trey's aura flickering, which totally messes with his head. Using a vanishing move, Trey slips right past and carves the guy up as they cross paths. 5 is actually impressed by that disappearing blade trick, while Trey tries to wrap his head around the hit. Even with a bleeding chest, the masked jerk brags that only someone as elite as him could survive that vanishing move. Trey knows he hit a vital spot, but seeing the guy still standing there totally blows his mind. Then he sees something gross squirming inside the wound. Suddenly, a huge explosion goes off nearby, catching Trey off guard. Across the way, Zeke's silver-haired boss notes that this swordsman is actually a legit threat. They regroup to talk shop. The Lord asks if he learned anything, and number 5 says it just made him want to crush them more. Some Proxia goon laughs at all that hate, but warns they gotta move because their plan is basically ready. Another hooded mage from Proxia says everything is just about set. While they pump out dark energy, a massive magic circle glows on the ground below them. Trey's crew is left wondering what the hell is happening. The 3rd seat tells 5 it is time to bounce, and they prep for a teleport. Trey's boss spots the teleport portal and tries to shut the whole thing down. No luck. The spell is way too complicated. Number 5 just waves and says he can't wait for round 2 before vanishing. Trey runs to his boss, yelling as the villains get away. He says he is sorry for not finishing that creep in one shot, but his lord tells him there was no way a single slash would take that guy out. They remember the guys calling each other seats and figure Proxia is mixing monster, taming, sword skills, and teleportation together. Throw in some teleportation magic, and even their leftovers are scary as hell. Deciding they need to move fast, the Lord tells Zeke to come along. He explains they need to grab intel from the academy regarding that weird lab they just found. The boss makes it official. Next stop, the Magic Academy. Cut to the big fancy academy under a blue sky. Inside, some long-haired professor is geeking out in the library. Some student shouts at the professor, asking about those notes he saw earlier today. The grumpy prof won't talk outside office hours, but the kid is desperate. Suddenly, another student comes sprinting in, screaming for Professor Rabenhar like his hair is on fire. The professor thinks everyone has lost their minds until they announce that Professor Ray is here. Rabenhar bolts through the hall like a track star. He skids to a stop before Lord Rai, asking what is up, and Rai says he needs answers. Rabenhar is super honored and agrees to help, so Rai suggests they find somewhere private to chat. They hit a classroom and start hitting the chalkboard. Ray draws out a magic formula he saw, and the professor's jaw practically hits the floor. Rabenhar says it is a totally twisted dark magic spell and asks Rai where he even found it. He says reading this should be hard, but not for him, because it is actually based on a variant he created himself. Ray is absolutely stunned. Rabenhar reminds Rai that he is still a lich, even if he is lower rank, so Rai just has to deal with it. Rai smiles and tells Rabenhar to get ready for a beatdown. The professor panics, having no idea what is coming. After some hilarious off-screen thumps, you can hear Rabenhar screaming in pain from somewhere outside the room. Bruised and bandaged, he hates his pathetic past and regrets being born. Back to work, Ray asks if there is a way to stop the monster factories across the land. Rabenhar just sighs and doubts it is possible. But Rabenhar claims he can build a magic tool to neutralize the monster spell instantly. Ray notes that finding those labs is now the top priority. Rai asks exactly how long it will take to build that thing. Rabenhar says cracking the code is the real grind. Then Ray whips out this fancy book, asking if it looks familiar, before dropping the bomb that it is a life vessel. Stunned, Rabenhar explains he thought the vessel was gone forever, only to realize Ray had been holding it this whole time. Ray explains that this jar stores a lich's entire life, memories, and their very soul. Once that sinks in, Ray starts wondering what owning a life vessel actually implies. Cue the slapstick. Ray starts punching Rabenhar right in the chest through their link, mirroring the pain. He keeps swinging, over and over, hurting Rabenhar through the vessel like a voodoo doll. Eventually, Rabenhar begs for mercy, crying out that he has taken way too many hits. Ray points out only the lich can break those heavy seals and demands he crack it open right now. Rabenhar mumbles some heavy spells, finally unlocking the warded book. It creaks open, showing pages filled with weird diagrams and old notes. Ray is stoked to dig in. He finds the book is packed with dark magic and realizes it is a secret lich manual passed down from Rabenhar's old master. Ray notices the last page is totally empty. Rabenhar admits he has no clue why. Rabenhar remembers a legend saying only a mage at the very top can read that final page. Probably what the first lich intended. Ray confirms there is no extra hidden magic tucked away inside. Rabenhar thinks it is a great chance to study the dark arts, but Ray says pass. He hands back the vessel, telling the lich not to lose it again. Rabenhar hugs it with tears in his eyes, while Ray just shrugs and says he had no use for it. Later, Trey drops by the study. Meanwhile, Ray and Rabenhar are busy roasting each other over who smells worse. Before Ray can even ask how the message went, Trey reports the heroes were itching for a fight and ready to see some action. Ray is happy the power problem is fixed and asks for the latest dirt from Salonia. He hears more sketch labs popped up in Bakura and tells them to get all the data ready. Ray says they need that magic tool yesterday and offers to speed up the work. Rabenhar agrees. Staring out the window, Ray wonders what Ariel is up to. Cut to Ariel meeting Duke Dallas. He thanks her for being cool about the situation with his daughter. Since the saint showed up in person, all the drama with Dallas, the Duke of Prio, was totally cleared up. Dallas admits Proxia is a massive threat and promises to work with Ariel to handle the crisis. After swapping formal, polite talk and blessings, Dallas wants Ariel to stay for a huge feast, but she tries to bail because she is busy. He insists, though, because he has a big question. Finally, he drops the real news. The King of Prio is seriously sick. Dallas explains it started with a cough, turned into a fever, and now he is in a never-ending coma. Ariel asks how long he has been out, and it has been 3 months. That explains why the king vanished from public, so she decides to handle it herself. Ariel agrees to help, making Dallas very happy. She keeps it humble, saying she is just doing Gaia's work and he should thank the goddess instead. Ariel asks where the king is hiding. Dallas says he is in a nearby annex and offers a carriage ride. A masked blonde assassin watches them pull away from the trees. This spy, likely the Blood Shadow, watches them from a branch. Ariel and Dallas head to the annex, having no clue they are being stalked. At the annex, Ariel is shocked that even decent holy magic couldn't fix the king. Oryx Cardan, captain of the Holy Knights, figures it must be a really nasty illness. Gillis from House Cardinal thinks it looks a lot like tuberculous meningitis. Gillis says inflammation is tough for normal magic, but he thinks Ariel's holy power can handle it. Auric agrees. They note it is rare for two major families to be called in together, proving how serious this is. Auric notes, Ariel is so tough she doesn't need guards, which is unheard of for a saint. Gillis agrees, noting he hasn't seen her in 10 years, yet she is still sharp and totally cool under pressure. He remembers her from his night days, back when she looked like a normal girl her age. Auric quickly clarifies he doesn't mean she is worse now, actually praising her sharp, decisive vibe. Gillis teases him for oversharing, but Auric says he really admires her. Gillis thinks they might actually hit it off. Gillis takes that as a compliment. Then Dallas leads Ariel into the king's private room. He begs her to save the king with her holy power, and she agrees. Ariel steps inside and quietly checks out the room. She sees the king in bed, looking really rough. Giving a formal intro, Ariel greets him as the Saint of Gaia. The king freaks out when he sees the Saintess and tells her to get out before things get ugly. Isle is confused, but then dark energy swirls and a huge magic circle traps her right in the room. Totally wild. Ariel smells that nasty dark magic and hears some jerk bragging about how she walked right into a setup. Dallas drops the act and starts laughing in her face about how easy it was to bait her. He admits Proxia offered him a crown to trap her. Eel calls him a total sellout and says magic won't hold her. She admits the power is legit, but says no curse can mess with a real saintess like her. A voice warns her about her crew, but Dallas points out the curse hits the whole building. Ariel is shook. We see the entire building getting choked out by one massive glowing curse circle. Dallas smirks, saying the curse just gets meaner every minute, so her friends are basically toasted. Showing off his own shield, Dallas tells her to just sit tight and wait for the slow end. Just as she is fading, Gillis rolls up, mocking the Duke's basic traps and slamming him with glowing chains. Auric and Isle burst in. Auric checks the Saintess while Dallas tries and fails to wiggle out of those restraints. Auric is ready to end the traitor right then and there, but Ariel tells him to chill. She says whacking a Duke would be a political nightmare. We gotta save the cursed priests and knights outside first. Or tells Ariel to run, but Dallas just laughs at them. He says a barrier has the place on lockdown, and they are all dead meat. Ariel asks Gillis to break it. Gillis looks it over and says the math is crazy. It will take time, and he might not beat the clock. Ariel decides to blast her holy energy everywhere to hold back that nasty dark magic. She says this will take every bit of her focus, leaving her totally defenseless. Her friends cannot believe it. Uriel tells Gillis to break that circle fast, and she orders Orr to keep everyone safe while she works. She takes a deep breath and drops to her knees. Suddenly, Uriel pops Holy Field, filling the room with light. Her power explodes, wrapping the whole building in a massive wave of glowing energy. Gillis is stunned by her massive strength and tells Auric to watch their backs while he works. Auric is on it. A bit later, Ray finishes prepping a mountain of blue gems to make some anti-monster gear. Robinhow is blown away by how fast he works. Ray says they will send a team once they find the labs. A scout tells Rai that the Blood Shadow just showed up and he needs to get over there right now. Outside, Blood Shadow is barely standing and covered in blood. She gasps out that the saint is in deep trouble. Rai freaks out seeing her like that and wants answers. She just begs him to get to Pryo immediately. Rai hears Pryo and knows things are bad. Cut to Uriel, still praying her heart out as Rai screams her name. Meanwhile, some shady Proxia dudes are creeping around the edges of the glowing building. The agents stare at the annex, watching the holy light and the curse go head-to-head in a struggle. In the pouring rain near a church, a guy calls for Blood Shadow, and she barely manages to answer back. The blonde guy sees she is hurt and demands the story. She promises to tell him every single detail. She starts her report, saying the mess began after the saints met in Pryo. A carriage rolls up to an estate. Hiding in the trees, she spots the annex. Word is the king's health just tanked, even with zero news for years. She wonders how a tiny place like Pryle could keep a secret that big for so long. This whole thing stinks, so she decides it is time to call home and report in. She fires up her communication orb, but the thing just shatters. She is totally stunned. She realizes magic is jamming the signal and starts to worry she might be walking into a trap. She thinks Proxia already snuck in. The saint is in trouble, so she tries to bolt, but some creep stops her. Some dude covered in bandages steps out, asking who she works for. She knows exactly what group he is with. She feels the dark energy and knows they are bad news. The bandage guy starts trying to guess her affiliation. He figures out she is not with the saints or the other usual suspects. Then he claims to know her. He calls her Danae, which totally shocks her. She asks how he knows, and he says he did his homework. She says she gets it. Denis goes ham with a blazing sword strike at the mummy dude, while his cloaked buddy blurs in fast. Denis talks big, bragging he can slice and dice these losers in a heartbeat. He turns to leave, thinking he won. Then, psycho laughter explodes behind him, leaving Denis shook. The mummy guy hypes up Danae's speed and moves, while Danae is just tripping because he definitely landed that hit. The bandaged creep tells him to check his own body, leaving Danae lost. Suddenly, his own fire attack blows up in his face. Staggering, Denis realizes his own move just pulled a U-turn on him. He just stares, completely horrified. A hooded figure glowing with creepy purple magic pops up, stunning Danae. He panics and grabs a round gadget. He pops it, dumping a huge smokescreen to ditch the fight. Later, he reports that the energy he felt was not normal magic, but something way more twisted and dark. He says the bad guys did not even chase him, they were only eyeing the saints. This makes his boss book it immediately. Another guy speaks up and asks to join the rescue squad. The blonde boss is shocked, but listens. The guy says he wants to fix his mistakes and help out. Plus, this weird magic has him curious. The boss says fine and tells everyone to move out now. Cut to the annex glowing with a strange magical light. Inside, Gillis points out the magic is getting way more intense. He is worried the saint will die if she keeps burning holy power to stop it. Then, a loud crash alerts a knight. The knight warns Gillis that something is approaching and that he has got this under control. Turns out, it is a high-level magic circle that the saint is barely holding back with pure holy energy. The mummy mage shows up in the hall, calling Saint Ariel the best ever for holding that back. The knight asks if they are from Proxia. The mummy guy says he is Proxia's necromancer, holding the second seat in the Black Chamber. He points out his horned buddy as Proxia's fourth seat executive. He mentions the third guy does not even have a real name. He explains that the guy is basically an angel of death who turns people back into mana. The knight is shook by that title. He snaps back that they look nothing like angels, which just makes the necromancer comment on the knight's big ego. The executive steps up to fight the knight so the mage can save his energy for later. He pulls a glowing purple blade, claiming he just wants to test a theory. He rips a massive slash down the hall. The purple blast slams into the knight's shield with a huge explosion. The bad guy is impressed. Seeing the shield's tidal sanctum barrier is the real deal. It even tanks his sword aura. The knight slams his shield into the floor, shouting that nobody gets past this spot. He declares that no enemy takes another step. The narrator intros the House of Saberdon, Gaia's OG Holy Knight family, loyal to the saints. They have carried the Guardian's will for ages, always holding down the front lines for the world of Gaia. Then there is Oryx Saberdon, the man known as the Sanctum's Barrier. He is the peak of family honor. The villains admit that Oryx's defense totally lives up to the hype. They call his shield Sephir, an unbreakable relic that is way beyond their power to smash. The mage says regardless, the saint is fated to be the blood key that opens the gate. Oryx dares them to try and break him, but the necromancer says how long he lasts does not even matter. He chants dark spells to crank up his magic. The angel of death girl starts pumping power through a seal on her head. Her energy buffs the dark magic circle in the annex from a distance. Gillis sees the magic circle parts he broke are coming back. He asks Oryx if he is good, and Oryx says yeah, but something is wrong. Oryx realizes the mage and that creepy woman have activated something massive together. Gillis figures out the necromancer is just trying to wear them down. Gillis thinks he can analyze and break their magic faster every time, betting their dark arts have to run out eventually. He bets the saints' holy energy will outlast them, making their plan pointless. Meanwhile, the mage wonders about Gillis's consecrated body technique. His move uses divine power in his fingers to track magic and crush it at the source. It is basically a cheat code. Some random voice tells Gillis to quit breaking the circle, but he is too stubborn to listen. The Death Angel girl just laughs, saying whether it is fast or slow, Gillis is going to die anyway. She is struggling hard while the mage chants demon words. Finally, she screams as the dark seal fully powers up. A sudden surge of evil energy slams into Oryx and Gillis. Gillis grabs his chest, looking completely panicked. Black magic starts sparking over Gillis's hand. He is terrified to see his own holy energy rotting into dark magic. Realizing the truth, the Saintist hits the deck, totally knocked out. Oryx demands answers, but the necromancer just brags that no saint can stand against that level of demonic heat. Turns out, the girl with him has demonic power literally carved into her skin. He calls this nasty little trick the power of reversal. Gillis panics, finding out the Saintist's massive holy energy just got flipped into dark magi inside her body. The creep explains she is tainted, and all that suppressed magi is starting to boil over again. Oryx knows they are cornered with zero holy juice left, so he tells Gillis to handle the escape. Oryx bolts to hold the line, begging Gillis to keep the saints safe despite the guy's protests. Gillis hesitates, but Oryx snaps that the mission comes first. He reminds him that Gillis knows the stakes better than anyone. He grins, promising to show off his unbreakable shield. Gillis just nods, making the hard call. Eyes closed, Gillis accepts the grim reality. He scoops up the Saintist and dives out the window to safety. The necromancer doesn't care. He says she is basically dead anyway and the whole building is totally surrounded. Even with a perfect defense, Oryx is going to run out of steam. This reversal power just wrecks the world's rules. But Sefer, it is totally fine. He notices the reversal cannot touch the shield and asks what that truly means. Auric replies that the villain knows something, and he has a guess too, at least. He realizes right then that Sephur isn't actually some holy relic from Gaia. The necromancer explains that Sefer holds an ancient will, something that guarded the world before it even had a name, and it never left this land. Auric figures that since this will ignores the usual laws of cause and effect, reversal can't touch it, and Auric asks if the villain likes that theory. The creep admits Auric is smart, and Auric confirms the shield holds that will. He shouts that House Subarden carries this legacy and will stand against any evil to protect the divine. The necromancer says to give it his best shot, planning to loot Sefer once Auric finally bites the dust. But then he feels a glitch. The magi nearby is acting weird, while the long-haired ally starts chanting his own counters. His magic begins shredding the massive territory circle from the outside. Roth and the crew reach the annex just as the barrier fades. A cosmic voice starts talking about 3 ancient nights. The first night was total darkness before creation. The second was when that dark void swallowed everything and triggered the collapse. Then it mentions a forgotten third night that everyone just blanked on. During that third night, one undying heart stayed formless and quiet, just barely hanging on to life. All alone for eons, the heart started dreaming, just wishing for someone to call its name in the void. It waited for the sky, then the wind, until it eventually forgot what it was even waiting for. Suddenly, faint voices drifted into the dream. The heart held on to those words like finding a lost piece of itself. The heart woke up and turned into light. That glow spread everywhere, melting the snow and making flowers finally bloom. Finally, a baby smiled. A woman ends the story, saying that lonely heart became light and lived happily with everyone. A kid named Uriel asks if that heart is actually the goddess. The woman just smiles and asks her back. Ariel is sure it's the goddess who melted the ice and brought back the flowers. The woman says anyone can make people smile, telling Ariel that she can bring happiness to the world too. Uriel swears she'll be a light for others, even if she's not a goddess, just to make everyone happy. The woman tells her to never forget that feeling so she can be the warmest light of all. Back in the present, the saintist finally wakes up. Gillis is freaking out, asking if she's okay while she tries to shake off that intense childhood dream. She's confused and tries to remember, but the pain hits hard. Gillis warns her to keep her holy power locked down. He explains her body is trashed by dark mana. If she uses holy power now, she'll literally explode. Gillis patched her up for now, but insists they have to make a run for the Holy Kingdom immediately. He mentions the territory barrier is somehow down, so they need to move while they can. The saintist's first thought is Auric. She's terrified he was left behind, but Gillis snaps that her life has to be the top priority. Gillis tells her not to let Auric's sacrifice go to waste. The saintist is left totally speechless and broken. Meanwhile, Roth's crew feels the dark mana everywhere, making it tough to track, but a few massive spikes stand out. A massive surge hits from the forest up ahead. Looks like something heavy just entered the zone. I am picking up another huge signal on the top floor of the annex. They think the saint is getting cooked with something way worse than dark mana. Roth can feel a crazy strong willpower coming from that room. He sends a lackey to check the other side while everyone else hauls it toward the annex building. Inside, Oryx is gasping behind Sefer, but he is still holding that shield steady. The necromancer mocks Auric for not being able to block everything and signals his muscle to move in. The thug pulls his blade, promising to end Auric in one shot and asking for last words. Auric snaps back that even if he dies, the will to protect will live on forever. A massive blast gets fired off, screaming straight toward its target. A blade glowing with purple energy charges up. That horned assassin launches a huge violet strike right at Ray. The white-robed saint jumps in front of Ray and pops a blue shield. He fires off a bind spell with a flash of light from his palm. Blue chains whip out and lock the horned attacker down, catching him totally off guard. Stuck in chains, the guy watches the saint bolt down the hall. The saint lunges forward with a glowing blue fist, ready to end this. A blindfolded cultist is losing it because their top guy got wrecked so fast. Now he is terrified of the saint power. The blindfolded cultist squints one eye through his wraps as he spots something weird. This long-haired dude recognizes Rai and looks shocked. The blindfolded guy goes ballistic, screaming the name Ravenhar. The long-haired guy studies the cultist and starts to realize who he is. He just straight up asks the blindfolded freak who he is. Elsewhere, Gillis tells the saint she needs to take 5. Gillis asks if she is okay, but he can tell her energy is dropping way faster than it should. The saint says sorry for slowing him down, but Gillis tells her that protecting her is just family business. Gillis explains that his family and the other guardians follow an ancient duty to protect saints, tracing back to when the sky and wind chased light. The saint says their justice is just following the past, then asks if that weight ever feels like too much for him. Gillis admits that duty is not always perfect, but balance only exists because some people are willing to carry the load. The saint falls silent, looking troubled by his words. She starts to tell Gillis something, but he shushes her so he can lock in. He casts a conceal spell to hide them both. From a distance, someone picks up movement in the trees and realizes that something is coming their way. This purple-haired guy named Zeke senses it and stays alert. Gillis and the Saint spot him and realize what is up. The Trey house must be in on this. The Saint thinks the new guys are friends and wants to go, but Gillis says wait. Footsteps get louder as someone realizes another player is entering the game. A masked lady in a cloak shows up and greets Zeke like an old rival. Zeke knows she is the monster tamer and gets ready. The masked woman talks trash about cutting him again, but he just laughs at how cocky she is being. She says they are probably going to fight since they are both after the exact same thing. Zeke plays dumb, but she reveals she knows about the Saints, which totally catches him off guard. Zeke says he has to stop her, but she claims she is too busy to duel. Glowing crystals start floating around Zeke, and he panics. The crystals blow up in a series of huge explosions. A gray-haired cultist walks out of the smoke, whining about how annoying Zeke is. The gray-haired freak tells the monster tamer they need to wreck Zeke fast and then go find the Saint. Seeing Zeke getting jumped, the Saint says they have to help, but Gillis tells her to stay low while he handles it. Gillis warns her that she cannot jump in, no matter what happens. Zeke goes head-to-head with the monster tamer, cutting through her summons. A huge golden slash rips across the field. The gray-haired cultist summons a massive purple circle with crystals spinning all around it. Zeke calls them cowards for jumping him 2 against 1 right before he notices someone else showing up. Gillis steps out and identifies himself to Zeke, offering to jump into the scrap. Zeke is relieved, but the monster tamer guesses that if Gillis is here, the Saint must be hiding nearby. Suddenly, the gray-haired girl screams that she found the Saint. Gillis worries they called for backup, but Zeke swears they will never get to her. The gray-haired cultist laughs and sends her monsters in to see what Zeke and Gillis are really made of. The blindfolded cultist is screaming, furious that he isn't being recognized and throwing out accusations of betrayal. Don is stuck on the name, while Rahar remembers giving him that nasty scar. Don narrows his eyes as things click. A pink-haired freak shambles out, and suddenly, he knows exactly what it is. He shakily asks if Ravenhar actually built this demonic nightmare from scratch. Don just soaks up the praise like a total fanboy. Ravenhar geeks out over the demon energy, the skin, and the hair. He realizes the core in its chest is actually a demon bone. Ravenhar is hyped that Don found such rare loot, and Don is tripping that he actually used his name. Ravenhar's buddy tells him to stop playing with his toys. Ravenhar says he will finish up here and catch up. The guy checks Auric, asking if he can even move after that stunt. The partner tells Auric he is done and should chill while he goes looking for Ireel. Feeling the guy's sheer grit, he worries about Ireel's safety. Cut to an ancient temple covered in vines and stone statues. 2 robed women walk past, saying it has been 50 years and things feel different this time around. The dark elf explains the altar is sucking up mana too fast and scaring away all the keepers. The light elf blames the chaos on mages crawling all over the world. She says she will handle it. They find a massive blue crystal on a stone pedestal. Total trouble, clearly. Somewhere else, a voice mutters they did not expect any interference here. Ravenhar stares down 2 cultists, saying followers of Proxia should not be traitors. Their master would be so disappointed. He figures that because they made this kid, the big day is coming soon. Honestly, he doubted they could pull it off alone. He admits they have talent for making demon tools, but the prophecy says they need help. The prophecy is revealed. It predicts a red second moon, an evil star, a gate opening, and a massive war that swallows all the light. Don brags that the last demon corpse from that spot let him build his pride and joy. Rahar talks trash, saying he could have made something better. He calls it a basic zombie despite the bones so disappointing. Don screams that his work is the absolute peak of necromancy. Ravenhar just smirks and asks if he wants a demo. He offers to fix up the body himself. Don says nobody touches his work, but Ravenhar insists a quick tweak would make it literally perfect. He asks Don if he is curious to see a real master do his thing. Don cannot resist and admits he is. No doubt about it, Rar is the ultimate necromancer. Since he is a lich, Don knows getting tips from a master is an irresistible trap. He is fuming, but his ego is wavering. Ravenhar tells Don he knows the forbidden stuff best. He says, "Trust me and take my hand, kid." Don is touched that Rar would actually say that and starts thinking about joining his crew. Ravenhar promises they will find a truth nobody has ever seen. Don lets his greed win and decides to follow him. Back now, a purple light from Ravenhar's room proves he is finally making his move. Zeke scraps with the monster tamer while explosions go off everywhere. Gillis throws colorful slashes at the gray-haired cultist, who counters with her own magic. The gray-haired cultist tells the tamer time is up. She starts opening the gate, popping a giant purple magic circle in the sky. A massive ghost beast leads a whole army of monsters right out of the portal. Gillis sees they moved a ton of monsters at once and wonders how long they were planning this. The monster tamer orders the army to shred their enemies. Suddenly, a blue strike cuts through the magic. The portal blows up in huge explosions, wiping out every single monster. Shocked, the cultist screams about her monsters and blames someone for shutting the gate. The saint uses his blue light again. Blue chains trap both the tamer and the cultist. She cannot believe he cracked the code after seeing it once. She stares at him, totally stunned, asking what kind of brain he even has. Zeke and Gillis greet Lord Rye, who immediately asks where Ariel is. She appears, touched he actually came. The gray-haired cultist gives a creepy smirk despite the chains. She starts laughing like a total lunatic. Rye asks what is so funny. She just says they are already way too late. Sit tight and watch the birth of a new demon king, she sneers. He is losing it. A creepy voice props up the third and fifth seats for the win. Then, it shouts that the big moment is here. Ariel catches a vibe and freaks. A wicked blade of pure shadow rips right through Zerial's chest. Zeke and Gillis are shook while some villain's speech about pain and becoming the demon king rings out. The hooded freak grabs a bleeding Ariel, claiming everything is about to be pointless. Ray is just there whispering, "No way." He bolts forward, screaming for Ariel. The boss brags that her blood is going to wreck the whole world order as it sprays toward the sky. He swears the power is all his, while Ray keeps shouting Ariel's name like a maniac. All that blood magic clumps together into a giant red ball in the air. The glowing ball swallows the mastermind while the fanboys cheer. The cultists in chains are actually hyped. Their boss got that demon juice. A cold new voice snaps at them, telling them to zip it. The new chick says her name is Burial, the world's very first demon king. She drops her name again with a creepy fake grin. She brags one more time about being the first demon king. Floating over the chaos, the tied-up cultists beg the demon king to use them to build her new world. Burial laughs, asking if they are ready. They are all in. The cultist with the wild hair offers her tattooed body up for Burial to rule. The masked freak tamer offers his body to feed her new reign too. Burial loves the loyalty and says she is sacrificing them to turn this place into her personal playground. The two cultists are smiling like psychos. A nasty ritual kicks off with red magic and tentacles spinning around Burial. The red ball and glowing symbols go wild, prepping for a massive shift. Rye holds a dying Iriel, begging her to stay awake. She just whispers that he should not be worrying about her now. She tells him to stop Burial fast. He argues, but Ariel says she is a goner. Rye panics and begs her to use some holy magic. That demon sword stuck in her side is rotting the wound even more. Ray sees the demon rot spreading fast. It is totally cutting off her holy energy. Ariel nods, saying the demon energy has her holy powers on lockdown. Rye tries to play hero, but she says they both know it is over. He just stares up at that massive red sphere in silence. She says it is fine. She is just going back to the goddess. Then she asks if he remembers the day they first met. Rye thinks back to leading an army to snatch her from the elf village. She admits she only cared about the goddess back then. She says being so obsessed with duty meant she had no real life. Thinking of the good times with Ray, she says meeting him flipped a switch and made her feel human again. Being around him helped her meet people, see the world, and actually have a good time. Because of that, she is not just going to sit here and call this God's plan. Crying her eyes out, Ariel admits that dying right now is terrifying and hurts like hell. She has got one last thing to say, even if the curse kills her for it. Rye is begging her to hang on, but she starts whispering. She looks at him. Then Rye spots fire streaks falling like stars. He is wondering what the heck is coming down. There is an old Empire legend that sharing a shooting star means you will die in peace. With the sky on fire, a guy calls out to Iriel, knowing they are thinking the same thing. Iriel looks at Rye, ready to spill her guts. She smiles and tells him she is so glad they met. Hating that she ever became a saint, Iriel reaches for Rye while he tries to grab her. Glowing gold, Iriel wishes they had met like normal people while Rye begs her to stop. She starts vanishing and says goodbye through tears. Golden dust falls while Ray kneels there alone, reaching for where she used to be. He clenches his fist, turning all that sadness into pure determination. He is getting seriously pissed now. Somewhere else, a demon queen says the stage is set. A huge blue vortex starts swirling out of nowhere. The vortex blows up in a massive energy burst. Ray is covered in blue power, laughing like a maniac and fueled by rage. The demon notes how mad he looks, but Rai just says he has got one question. He wants to know her angle. He asks if she just wants power, but she laughs, saying a human would not get her big plan. She says everything is just following some big boss's orders from above. She claims the universe demands a saint's life to spawn the first demon king. Just natural law, she says. Rai spits on that law. He says if those are the rules, he will rewrite them himself. Drowning in rage and blue mana, Ray plans to wipe out everyone involved. His power forms a massive death ball. The blast absolutely trashes the entire forest and surrounding land. The orb pops into flaming shards. Ray stands right under a massive, cracking blue space rock he is controlling. The meteor spins and launches. Far away, Zeke wonders if this insane power is actually the saint's meteor. He feels the vibe, it is nothing like a saint's light. This is darker, demonic. His buddy screams to get back before the whole place goes up in smoke. The Demon Queen actually looks impressed by Ray's raw strength. She warns he is wrecking his own body, but Ray just asks if those are her last words. She laughs, saying she could stop him, but why even bother? She brags that she is the world now. This body is just trash. You cannot kill what is everywhere. Rai promises to hunt her through every corner of reality, killing her over and over. She just laughs as the meteor hits. White light blinds her as the blue meteor finally slams home. Silence. Ray just stands there in the mist, staring up at the stars. News flash. The Holy Nation and its allies are finally winning by wrecking the labs making those beast blades. This holy war might finally be over. Meanwhile, everyone is still mourning Ariel's death. The massive, fancy funeral shows just how much the Holy Nation worship their little superstar saint. The priests drone on about how she is just chilling with the goddess now. One priest warns that without Ariel's muscle, they are sitting ducks for the next big attack. The high priest demands blood and orders everyone to gear up immediately. He asks if Ray is okay. Ray just lies and says yes. Narration says he's been off since she died. Rai feels his mana is broken. It is just not flowing. Moving his power hurts like hell. If he cannot fight, he is basically dead weight. He needs a hand. Deep in an old elven forest, someone is stressing over a broken artifact. A dark elf snack queen says if that thing snaps, nobody knows how to fix it. If it breaks, game over. Monsters will flood in. Thinking about it is exhausting. She eyes the crystal. It's holding, but it's super thin. Probably won't last. They wonder what god or legend actually built this massive mana circuit altar in the first place. One elf says this magic is too complex to touch, but it is definitely going to fail. We cannot do this forever. Our lazy allies will show up eventually. Elven pride, right? The white-haired elf heads for a nap, then Ray's voice hits her brain. She is shocked, he called. He wants to talk about spirits and meet up soon. He is busy leaving his village for 2 months, but says this is an emergency. He needs her now. Era goes quiet, looking pretty serious. Her buddy says he sounds different. Ray tells her to meet him in the dark elf forest south. Era says she is on her way. Ray tells her to skip the thanks and just move fast. Her friend is totally losing her mind. The dark elf cannot believe Era is inviting a human here. This altar is strictly off limits to any random outsiders. But hey, both elf bosses are right here. Last human nearly blew us up. This is insane. Ara's literally begging her. Like, if you don't trust the guy, at least trust me. She promises that Ray isn't the type to pull some shady stunt like that. The dark elf admits he doesn't look like a creep and gets why Ara is backing him up. She says she ran into him earlier while hunting for stories to tell her quote-unquote husband. She calls him an interesting human and says this is a one-time thing. But then, in this totally petty aside, the elf warns that she's never letting this slide again. Ara apologizes for asking for such a massive favor. The dark elf adds a catch. Ara asks what, and the elf explains that since this place is holy, any human stepping inside better show some serious respect. She's gonna pick out his outfit and tells Ara to give him the heads up. Later, Rai is wandering the woods at night, complaining that this place is impossible to find. He remembers dark elves are super rare, he's only seen them once out west. Suddenly, a scream in the distance cuts him off. He finds a bunch of people passed out by a trashed wagon. Trolls are everywhere. He quickly weighs his options. No choice but to jump in. Ray powers up his blue fear ability, energy flaring all around him. Somewhere else, a noble family is in their carriage. The young guy asks if the old family legend is actually legit. The master remembers the story when golden meteors fall. A legendary being will descend into the forest of stars to lead them. He brushes it off as a myth, then yells at the kid not to jinx it. Their ancestors wanted this, and they can't let the family name rot. That's why they bolted out at night, praying the legend is real so they can finally bring the family back to life. Almost there. They stop to rest and confirm that the Forest of Stars is definitely where the Dark Elves live. They're stressed because they need to go inside to find the legend, but those grumpy Dark Elves probably won't let humans in. The daughter says they have to try since they're already here. She doesn't see the monster creeping up. A troll roars and attacks, sending the whole camp into pure chaos. Trolls are everywhere. The servants scream at the lady to run while they try to hold the beasts back. A servant stands his ground against a charging troll. Suddenly, Ray pops up and orders the monsters to freeze. His fear magic blows up into a massive ghost skull, looming right over the trolls. The trolls are totally wrecked, foaming at the mouth and paralyzed with fear. The family watches the beasts freeze, realizing this kind of power only belongs to the absolutes. They recognize Ray's skill. It's that absolute power everyone calls fear. They start thanking their mystery hero, but he just warns them the woods are lethal and to get out fast. The daughter gets all hyped and asks if he's the legendary great being. She bows, announcing their family is here to serve and begging him to lead them. Rai is just confused. He's got things to do, so he shuts down the mix-up and bolts. bummer. The daughter wonders if the timing is off or if they just got it wrong. She argues that no regular person could use fear like that. Plus, the silver hair and the perfect timing? He's definitely the one. The siblings are stoked. They decide he's the white dragon and head home to officially change their family crest. Meanwhile, Ray has absolutely no clue any of this is happening. Elsewhere, Rai is walking along, oblivious to the mess he just made. He feels a weird mana pulse. Suddenly, a dark elf warrior appears, tells him to stop, and asks if he's Era's human. Rai figures the guy is his escort. The warrior nods and tells Rai to keep up and follow him. Stepping into the dark elf woods, Rai thinks it looks pretty basic. His guide points out the shack where he's staying. The warrior warns him not to act like a moron in the village, even with Ara's support. Rai says fine. Elsewhere, another elf asks a guard where Ara is. Turns out the high elves are hanging out at the sanctuary altar. Rai wants to go there right now because time is tight, but the dark elf just laughs he can't enter the sanctuary looking like that. Rai remembers what Ara told him. Once he hits the village, things get weird. He has to put on their traditional gear and finish a ritual before seeing her. He uses magic to clean up. Rai asks if he's clean enough and if his new threads are in the house. The elf says it's still not enough. The elf explains he has to soak in the forest's aura at dawn and change before hitting the altar. Rai thinks this is a huge pain. He's told to chill until it's time. He realizes that as the first human allowed in this holy place, he's got to play by the rules. Inside, Rai sees this crazy leaf-shaped outfit waiting on the bed and braces himself for the worst. He stands there silently, processing the disaster he's about to wear. Looking at the room and that thing on the bed, Ray wonders if that even counts as clothes. Next day, under a blue sky, someone says he actually looks all right. Rai is basically naked in this leaf getup, and the elves say he finally qualifies to enter the sanctuary. As he stands there stunned, Syrian welcomes him as the human visitor. Rai suddenly recognizes her as Lady Syrian. He realizes that dark elf from before is actually a high elf, and she returns his greeting. Syrian jokes that humans grow up fast. She says the outfit fits so well he would pass for an elf with pointy ears. Rai awkwardly thanks her. She says Ara will be thrilled to see him. Then, she leads him to the altar and orders the barrier dropped. A glowing green portal rips open, revealing the ancient hidden ruins of the altar. Syrian tells Rai to get moving. He is blown away by the insane barrier spell that hid this place from the world. Stepping inside, she warns that outsiders can't use mana here. Rai stops and asks what this altar actually is. She asks if he knows about the war between celestials and demons. He calls it out the legendary Heaven-Demon War. This altar is a magical machine built after the war to patch up cracks between worlds and stop dimensional invaders. She adds that weird monsters have been slipping through for centuries, and they still show up today. Rai figures the altar is broken. Syrian nods, saying she and Era are stuck keeping it alive while their team runs late. They reach the inner chamber, and Syrian shouts that Ara's favorite human has finally arrived. Ara turns around, blushing and nervous, to greet him. Rai, embarrassed in his leafy clothes, asks if she is okay. She looks pale but says she is fine. She just stares in total silence at the single leaf barely covering him up. Flustered, Ara admits that the traditional outfit actually looks pretty good on him. Rai is dying of embarrassment while Syrian mocks their touching reunion. He checks out the glowing crystal altar, sucking up all the nearby mana. Seeing how exhausted Ara looks, Syrian explains that this is exactly why they need Rai's help. She notes his condition is rough too, considering his damaged mana core. Suddenly, Ara grabs Rai in a hug, totally startling him. She gently suggests he must have gone through some serious trauma. Rai promises they will find a way through this together, and she thanks him. Syrian kills the mood, saying there is no time for romance. She reminds them the situation is still desperate. She hates to ask, but she needs Rai to step up and help pump mana into the altar right now. She clarifies they only need his support until the rest of the team arrives. Ara says she can keep going, but asks him for one more favor. Rai instantly agrees to anything. Ara wants him to put his hand on her back and track the mana flow while she works. Rai follows orders, placing his hand on her back while she dumps mana into the altar. The altar's violent energy surges right into Rai, shocking his system. He wonders how a simple machine can have such a brutal mana flow. Ara asks if he finally understands what a monster of a machine this thing really is. Syrian trashes the unknown creator for building such a shaky, inefficient pillar between dimensions. She figures there must be a reason for this setup, because otherwise, the design is just plain stupid. Rai feels the massive mana pressure building. He is warned that without perfect control, his body might literally explode. Rai tells Ara he is taking over the supply. He tells her not to worry because mana control is his specialty. With a confident smirk, Rai tells Era to rest while he handles the flow. Hours later, he is completely exhausted and panting from the strain. Syrian notices that Rai's endurance with the altar proves he is definitely not just some average human guy. Syrian admits she was against letting a human near the altar, but she finally gives Rai her thanks. She introduces herself and agrees to work with him. Rai gives his name in return. Sirion sets house rules for the sanctuary, but Rai says they have a major problem to discuss. When Rai asks for details on the altar, Sirion says no, thinking he is trying to bolt. He clarifies he just needs to know how it works. He explains he needs the specifics on the mana flow and asks for any records or blueprints of the magic circle. Sirion laughs and says the altar was built during the ancient war, so the blueprints are long gone by now. She admits they can at least share what they have figured out about the altar's mana flow so far. Sirion asks what he plans to do with that info. When he says he intends to fix the altar, she calls the idea totally insane and dangerous. Rai says he will just draw up a brand new blueprint using the flow analysis she and Ara provide. Sirion looks to Era for backup, but Era is collapsed on the floor, way too exhausted to even say a word. After they explain everything they know, Sirion is completely blindsided by Rai's reaction to the news. Rai says if they can track the energy more accurately, they can figure out the structure. He starts sketching a glowing magic diagram. Sirion is shocked that Rai's sketch looks exactly like a high-tech blueprint of the altar's structure. She agrees to help, barely warning that one tiny slip-up would trash this whole dimension. Rai tells her to start talking and explain everything. Ara weakly offers to help explain the situation too, but Sirion tells her to chill and heal since she is basically a noodle. Ara is fuming over this tutoring session. Ara swears she will give Rai a brutal lesson later. Hours fly by as Sirion shows him how mana flows inside. They find 9 main flow points. This thing is way more complicated than any magical gear Rai has ever seen. Thin mana branches tangling with thick core lines look like a mess. One wrong move equals total disaster. They really need to figure out what those main lines do. Sirion says diving into the stream is the best way to learn, but super risky. Rai considers doing it anyway. Right as Sirion yells at him for being reckless, the whole altar starts shaking like crazy. The middle crystal blasts out blinding light, stunning everyone. Energy starts whipping around as some weird phenomenon returns. Sirion spots a dimensional rip opening up. She summons a giant air hand to grab the crack. She explains that the mana surge ripped the world open. Now she is trying to crush it with magic. Rai hears a creepy sound from the rip that totally hypnotizes him. The noise echoes in his brain. It is like an addictive drug pulling his mind apart. Someone yells at Rai to stop listening before his mind rots. He snaps back to reality and throws a punch at the crack to shut that noise up for good. The creepy noise keeps going. Sirion shouts that her magic is totally failing against the fissure. Ara appears, saying they have to seal it. She drops a massive power bomb, telling the rip to get out of her dimension. It works, but Ara collapses instantly. Rai screams her name as she starts falling. Sirion catches her with an air hand. She mocks Rai, asking how it felt to see a real monster up close. Rai is still shaking and cannot speak. His head is spinning as he stares at the quiet crystal. Night falls over the elven forest. Someone is chilling under a starry waterfall. It is Rai, trying to wash off the stress of today. A voice pops out of nowhere, saying that monster was just a low-rank weakling. Super creepy. Sirion says those same monsters once attacked the temple for a whole day in mental time. Dead adventurers were everywhere. She tells Rai that small cracks are easy to fix, but big mana streams are a whole different beast. Sirion warns that messing up big flows means game over for the world. Rai knows he needs to focus. They take turns pumping mana into the altar to map out the whole thing. Eventually, they find 5 major lines. If they find the rest, they might actually be able to fix this junk. Back in the water, Rai realizes the deep lines are tough to find. He is running out of gas. His mana recovery sucks. He wishes he could fix his broken vessel. Suddenly, he hears footsteps. A happy voice says hello to the guest. The new guy heard a human was helping out with the altar. He asks if Rai is the guy. Rai says yeah and asks who the hell he is. He introduces himself as Hyprian, a high elf scout sent by the girls to check the altar. Rai thinks this dude has way too much energy. Hyprian says Rai has a cool name. Hyprian starts gushing over Rai's muscles and face. He keeps staring at Rai's fit body and asks if he is out here alone. He says another elf went to the camp and more high elves are coming from the village soon. Rai asks why he did not go there too. Hyprian says he needed to wash up in the sacred spring. He calls their meeting at the spring a romantic fate. He says they should bond through a primal connection. Rai is definitely getting a bad vibe now. Super embarrassed, Rai jumps out of the water and runs. Hyprian laughs and calls his shyness cute. Hyprian's loud shouting echoes through the dark night sky. At the camp, Ara is annoyed. Rai is taking forever. Sirion senses that another person just arrived. A short high elf named C shows up to say hi to Ara. Sirion asks who he is and if he came alone. S says he rolled up with Hyprian. Sir drops the bomb. Hyprian needed a soak and sent him ahead. Ara's brain starts spinning as the terrifying math hits her. Panicked that that lovesick creep is alone with Rai, Ara bolts. But Sirion blocks her. That altar isn't gonna fix itself, girl. Sirion's like, chill, Rai's built different. Then he pivots to Cert, demanding some backup at the sanctuary right now. Cert eyes the kid and starts venting. Being a high elf, he's totally sketched out about handing over the keys to the sacred altar to some random human guy. Sir drops some history. Humans walked away from their claim to that altar ages ago. Now it is the high elves' job. It is their big tradition, sacred and untouchable. Syrian knows letting a human in is a major vibe killer, but Ray's help is literally the only thing keeping them from total disaster. Sir claps back. Tradition is our bloodline connection. Screwing up this mana would be a total betrayal of our ancestors' legacy. Syrian gets real. Cling to your old ways if you want, but when the altar explodes, we will be swimming in monsters. She shuts it down. A heavy call like this cannot just be made by 3 people in a room. Ara and Syrian are Team Ray, and she puts Cert on blast. Is some dusty tradition really worth more than the whole world? Cert starts tripping over his words. He respects the past, but he is not a total brick wall. He argues they barely know Rai, so he is a hard no for now. Aaron tallies the score. It is 2-1. The drama is real. Time's ticking, so they will wait for the next 2 high elves to roll up and let them cast the tie-breaking votes. Ara steps up. If the majority says yes, then as the high elf guardian, she is pulling rank to make it happen. She will give Rai the green light to handle the altar. C and Syrian are shook. They didn't expect her to go all in like that. Syrian's like, wow, you are really simping for this guy. Suddenly, Heen crashes the party, hyped because he thinks Era is totally in love. Syrian asks where the heck Ray is. Hprian just laughs it off, joking that he tried to get close and the kid just bolted. Hprian starts gushing about how Rai has this incredible shy guy aura. Ara turns to Siri like, okay, what is your take on him? Syrian catches the vibe and jumps on board. Why not let the handsome Mr. Ray help? But Ara knows she is probably just playing along. Then, out of nowhere, he flips the script. Despite the hype, he is officially voting no on letting Ray touch the altar. Night falls hard as Rai wanders the woods, still thinking about how incredibly weird that Hprian guy was. He finally ditched that weirdness and swapped back into his regular clothes. Ray mumbles that those elves give him the creeps. He is way off track from the sanctuary now, but then wait, is that grilled meat he smells? That is not an elf snack. He wonders who is actually out here running a barbecue in the middle of nowhere. He creeps closer and finds a lone figure by a fire. It is an elf woman, looking totally chill while she roasts meat over the flames. The campfire crackles, lighting up the dark clearing. Watching from the shadows, Ray wonders if she is another high elf sent to deal with the altar. But seriously, an elf grilling meat? Not normal. She spots him and does a double take. A human? Out here? She asks. Ray starts to stutter out an answer, feeling totally awkward. She is super nice about it, offering him a seat and some food. Rai's like, wait, for real? You are sure it is okay? She laughs and says she has got plenty to share. So Rai shrugs and joins her by the fire. Between bites, she mentions he looks like he hasn't eaten in weeks. Rai admits that eating meat around elves feels super weird. Wait, are you guys even allowed? She cracks up. Turns out elves love good food too, and you cannot have a real feast without meat. She checks him. Loving nature is cool and all, but if you think you can survive in the wild without any killing, you are dreaming. Rai drops some deep philosophy about how life and death are both part of the big picture, basically quoting the ancient doctrine of balance. She catches the reference to the doctrine of the mean and is totally shocked. How does a human know that? She is curious now. Where did you pick up those words, kid? Ray mumbles that it just slipped out. Then she drops a bombshell. Has he met a certain half-elf violinist? Rai is floored. Rai remembers that violinist was obsessed with an old instrument she got from her grandmother. The dots connect. Rai shouts, "You are the grandmother." She just laughs. Talk about a small world in a big forest. She confirms it. She is a reincarnator just like him. The name is Elisa, she says with a grin. After hearing his story, Elisa's mind is blown. Meeting another soul from the distant future? What are the odds? Turns out Elisa was a scholar in 1890s Korea. She was working a factory job when an engine exploded, and boom, reborn as an elf. She shifts gears to the altar. I heard you are the VIP human here, she says. Rai sighs, yeah, it is definitely way more complicated than that. He says his magic gear is busted. Elisa is shook. Wait, since when can this dude cast spells? Elisa admits she is no mage and cannot fix him directly, but she knows that magic really starts in the heart. She drops some deep wisdom. Lock in your will and your mind chills. Calm is everything. Peace of mind brings deep thoughts and sharp insight. Like water, shake it, and it is mud. Leave it, and it is clear. Elisa says Ray is a mess because his mind is chaotic. Find that inner vibe during the storm and you win. True composure is not just dead silence. It is being steady while moving the perfect balance. Rai says that sounds hard, so Elisa says don't sweat the clock. Hard paths require patience. Rai pivots to fixing the altar first. Maybe tackling one problem at a time will show him the way out of this. Elisa agrees to head back, but she has got one more thing. Rai realizes if Elisa keeps that old violin, her granddaughter has to be alive. Elisa hints that something almost killed the girl, but she keeps the dark details to herself for now. At the shrine, another elf asks if Elisa hates Ray too. She says, yeah, big time, count me in. She shouts that for elves, tradition is a bigger deal than actually staying alive sometimes. Heen gets dramatic, calling this crisis a total vibe. Syrian regrets even inviting this clown to the party. Syrian says they need whoever shows up next. The closest high elf spot is someplace called Izert's village. She remembers the dark forest down south and worries about the high elf holding it down over there. Syrian explains that the forest boss is Hassan, a total jerk who will lose it just because Ray touched the shrine. Heen figures nobody is showing up unless they are just acting on some random whim. Suddenly, they feel a new energy. C says the visitor is not alone, they brought a whole squad. Outside, Hassan is fuming. He can't believe a basic human actually had the nerve to show up. Elisa tells him to chill. Ara and Syrian back the kid, but Hassan is not taking anyone's word for it. Ara spots Elisa and Ray and is shocked they are back already. Did they actually roll in with Hassan too? This is wild. Heprian sees they both arrived at once and starts panicking about whose vote actually matters more. Someone points out that technically, neither one of them has stepped inside the shrine. Syrian tells Elisa to move it. Heen treats it like a dating show and screams for Hassan to hurry. Hassan grumbles that this whole scene is embarrassing and painful to watch. He yells at them for playing games while things are falling apart. Are they even real high elves anymore? Cert snaps back that this is definitely not the time for a lecture. Someone explains the vote to the newcomers. They are deciding on the human, and Era only cares about who gets here first. No pressure. Everyone expects Elisa to vote for the guy. She smiles and says she values something more than old rules. Suddenly, she sprints toward the entrance like a pro athlete. Elisa flies right past Ray in one huge jump. She sticks the landing, creating a shockwave that sends Ray stumbling and coughing. Blazing ahead, Elisa slides through the door first, locking in her spot as the winner. She looks back and says world peace is her top priority. As a high elf, she officially votes for Ray to help. The human wins. Ray says thanks, while someone in the back starts squealing about how totally romantic this all is. The elf lady helps on one condition. They hike through the tall grass for a while. Ray follows the elf, wondering how much further they have to go. Elisa says they can walk forever until he finds a spot he actually likes. Rai realizes it has been several days since they left the altar. At night, he asks about that mysterious condition. His mana is still low. She tells him recovery takes time and wants him to check out a special place with her instead. He is worried about the altar, but she says with all these high elves around, there is zero danger. Elisa says let the elves handle it. Some things you just have to see for yourself to understand. While walking, Elisa admits she can't even power the altar right now anyway. Then, she spots something cool ahead. They find a beautiful flower field and admire the view. Elisa asks if he is vibing with the flowers. Ray says yeah, so she is hyped and tells him they gotta keep moving. They check out a sick waterfall and Elisa asks if this spot is actually more his style. Rai says he is down with the waterfall too, so they bounce. Later, chilling in a sunny field, she asks if he is feeling it. Rai just repeats that he likes it. They hit up a quiet lakeside forest at night. Once again, Ray says he totally digs the vibe. They trek through a fiery wasteland and he still says he is down. Even at a cliff covered in vines, he is like, yeah, I like this place. Elisa takes the win and starts walking. Ray wonders why she is dragging him around to all these random spots. She says they are almost there and tells him to just keep up. She steps forward, saying the big moment is finally here. They pull up to a wrecked town and she asks if he is feeling this vibe too. Rai is totally speechless at the total destruction. Elisa says she actually hates it here, and that being healthy means having a mind that knows where it is going. She brings up how she compared the mind to water once. Then she asks what that water looks like right now. Strolling through the ruins, she says it is okay for his mind to drift. Everything he sees is just part of his own life and will. Then she suggests one last stop. Night falls over a hidden mansion deep in the woods. Elisa brings Ray to the gate and tells him they have finally made it. Rai knows this place. He is shaken. He remembers a girl who used to joke that he was totally helpless without her. He remembers another girl teasing him about having a crush. Then he thinks of a blonde friend who said meeting him was the best thing ever. Rai starts breaking down as all those memories hit him hard. Through tears, he sees that his own doubts are hurting him. Elisa says he is just blaming himself because he could not save that woman from dying. She explains that life and death are totally unfair. Sometimes, people die for no reason at all. What matters is having the guts to face that unfairness. The world makes no sense, but you still gotta stand. What he chooses to protect or rebuild is up to him. Ray cries, admitting she was a truly good person. He decides to keep her spirit in his heart and keep moving forward with her memory. Elisa nods but warns him not to let that grief consume him. Even small steps can change the whole world. Rai listens, still crying but finally feeling a bit calmer. He smiles through the tears, looking way less stressed. The two of them walk through the glowing woods in peace. Back at the altar ruins, Rai asks Elisa how she knew to take him to that specific forest at the end. She says her special eyes of truth let her see his heart reflected right in his gaze. She feels trouble inside and tells him the crew is fighting a monster. She tells him to hurry. Inside, Era is spent, calling Ray's name while the other elves are totally wrecked. Rai asks if they are okay. Ara admits it is looking bad and they need a serious mana boost for the altar right now. Elisa tells Rai to try pumping in some mana himself. Ray walks up to the crystal and reaches out. The moment he touches it, the altar accepts him as the new host. The elves outside feel a massive wave of mana surging. It floods the whole area, glowing bright from the crystal center. Ray figures that is enough power and then notices something even better. With a big grin, he announces that he has actually succeeded in tracking down the altar's hidden mana lines too. A bit later, he says the repair job is finally done. He shows them the crazy complex blueprint he figured out. An elf scholar is floored because even the high elves could not find those lines after working on it for days. The elves are shocked Rai did it so fast. Now they are ready to trust him with the altar for real. The scholar admits the results are sick, even if Ray's methods were a bit messy. One elf laughs that since Rai did the work, it is all good. Another admits it feels kind of lame to rely on a human. He insists that since it is so embarrassing, they owe it to the human to give him a proper thanks. Ara tells them Rai pushed his body to the limit searching for those lines. He never quit and even found a sixth line that everyone else missed. She says he worked harder than anyone to save the world. She asks why they would not want to help a guy who busts his back like that. Another high elf agrees. Even if they are useless, they should not block him. They gotta keep their pride without lying about their own screw-ups. The scholar totally agrees that Rai proved there are way more important things than just their pride. When the buff elf threatens to use force if the scholar keeps complaining, the guy finally backs down, admitting he knows his own limits. The scholar tells Rai he is done getting in the way. He is leaving everything in Ray's hands now. While the crew jokes about calling him Mr. Human, Ray thanks them for the trust and starts explaining the plan. He says that since they found the sixth line, those 6 paths now make up the altar's core framework. Rai says if they guide the mana right, nothing blows up, but that is not the only reason the gate is opening. Pointing at the map, he says point 6 hits line 3, so they better be careful when they start pumping energy into it. When asked about the final 3 lines, Ray says it is a team effort if they want to find them. He explains those points are buried deep in the altar, way past the first 6 they already found. Ray cannot reach that deep alone. Everyone has to jump in at once, even if it might mess things up. It is totally risky, but the altar is falling apart, and if they do nothing, it is game over. The elves decide they have to try. Rai tells them to take 5 before the big push. While they rest, Ara pulls him aside for a chat. She feels bad for dragging him into this mess, but he tells her to chill. They are way past apologies. Rai is actually happy he showed up since he fixed his spirit vessel, and Ara thinks that is really sweet. Ara realizes they have been through a lot. Blushing, she asks what happens after all this drama is finally over. She wants a getaway, just the two of them. Rai is totally caught off guard and starts acting all weird and awkward. Later, the elves prep for the ritual. Everyone wonders if it is finally time to kick things off. One elf complains about having to watch their little romance, while another says the trip sounds nice if only the altar got that much love. Ara says they are just in the honeymoon phase, but boredom hits in a century. Another elf thinks a 100-year romance sounds amazing. A younger elf asks Rai to hang out later, but Ara snaps and tells him to back off and mind his own business right now. Later, everyone gets in position around the crystal. Rai looks around and asks if they are ready to do this. One hurt elf cannot use mana, so she promises to cheer them on from the sidelines instead. Ray gets the squad hyped and starts the countdown to release the power. Energy explodes through the altar, and Rai screams for everyone to keep the flow steady. The scholar freaks out because their energy is disappearing fast. Ray just laughs, saying the altar is deeper than he thought. Rai struggles, saying he can finally feel the deep flow. We are almost there. Suddenly, the crystal explodes with a blinding flash. When the light clears, Ray is standing all by himself at the altar. He has no idea what happened. Everyone else is gone. He starts to panic, wondering if touching that deep mana line caused some kind of crazy side effect. This is not good. Meanwhile, near Bayan, some travelers notice the forest has gone completely quiet. Like, too quiet. The guys talk about rumors of people vanishing into thin air around those woods. One guy swears a monster is out there, but his buddy thinks that is impossible this close to the kingdom. Suddenly, a terrifying winged freak with a skull face dives down, making them scream like babies. They bolt, yelling that the monster is real and totally weird. Then, out of nowhere, a huge fireball slams into it. The blast shakes the ground, leaving the guys dazed. A guy in robes says he is glad he made it in time. The mage rushes over to see if they are okay. Still shaking, they thank him and ask exactly who he is. He brags that he is from the White Radiant School. Back at the altar, Rai tries to figure out exactly what just happened. He remembers touching the altar to find the line and pushing his power deep into the core of the thing. He recalls that right as he hit the line, something just snapped and went totally haywire. Standing in the silence, he can still hear the echo. He checks the energy flow and realizes something wild: the others did not vanish. Instead, his own brain got hardwired directly into the altar's deepest core. He decides to follow the energy. If he can just touch the line, he will finally get what is going on. A voice tells him a foreign soul has arrived, which totally catches him off guard. The voice says he messed up the flow. It feels weirdly familiar, like an energy he has felt before and will never ever forget. He remembers this vibe from Hero Island and back when he left the Holy Kingdom. Ray asks if it is a god. The voice says it has no name, just an echo from the end of something long gone, a hollow shell of power. Ray asks about the word we, and the voice warns that invisible monsters are eating the roots of the deep. It says the sleeping gate is waking up. If the flow breaks, pure darkness is going to flood the entire world. Rai notices the voice sounds like a whole bunch of people all talking at once. Rai asks what is up, and this ghost voice is like, "Let me show you." Suddenly, he is sucked into a trippy vision. Inside the vision, some beast priest is losing his mind, screaming that the sealing stone is toast and the darkness is about to wreck everyone. Rai sees the altar puking blue energy. He knows that altar and that nasty dark flow as it starts flooding the whole place. He spots something crawling out and loses it. A massive purple gate bursts from the altar, bigger than anything ever, and everyone starts losing their cool. Dark sludge pours from the gate, swallowing the priests and mutating them into monsters. A cloaked dude is thrashing on the ground, groaning. Ray sees a human turn into a roaring freak, and it is terrifying. He realizes a person just went full monster mode. The voice says this is just a memory beamed from the other side. Rai asks if that means another dimension, but the voice warns him that his time is basically up. Rai panics that if they do not fix the altar, their world is cooked. He begs the voice to find the mana lines. The voice says once his will hits, the mana flow will flood him, and it starts right then. Ray screams as that blue mana slams into his body. The altar explodes with blinding blue light. Reality and the vision mash together as mana floods the whole area. Ray turns into a glowing silhouette, completely lost in the mana storm. The mana is going nuts. His clothes and body start cracking under the pressure. A massive blue explosion swallows the altar. Inside a mana cocoon, Ray is out cold while the power just keeps building. The mana is sparking with raw energy. Outside, the elves are duking it out with new freaks coming from the gates. Some giant shadow beast screams as they rain down attacks on it. The elves are panicking because these gates and monsters keep coming. They keep asking if Rai is awake yet. Another elf says Rai is still down, but there is this crazy mana storm spinning around him. The scientists worry Rai is glitching out because they messed with the altar. They are done, they cannot fight anymore. These new monsters have crazy magic resistance. The team decides they need to get the heck away from the altar. Ara will not budge because Ray is linked to the altar, but the others say they are all dead if they stay. The healer says living comes first and they can figure it out later. Ara is sweating, totally torn on what to do. She tells the crew to bounce without her. Everyone is shocked when Ara says she is staying to protect the sleeping Ray. She clicks her tongue, sticking to her guns. She orders everyone to run, but a young elf steps up and says he is staying to guard Rai too. Their loud buddy says he is in, and Hassam the scholar joins in for the honor of the high elves. Ara is touched that the squad is staying by Ray. Then she senses something creepy and looks up, totally spooked. A huge black crack opens in the sanctuary. A creepy eye and sound waves pop out, and someone recognizes the vibe. This humming psychic noise starts spreading. The elves warn each other to tune it out or they will go insane. Hassam smells something weird in the corruption and feels his willpower starting to slip away. A clawed hand reaches out. Then, a weird, one-eyed, fluffy monster steps through the gate, chanting some creepy tune. The monster just sits there, blasting out waves that mess with everyone's heads. Ara is overwhelmed and knows they cannot beat this thing. She thinks of Ray and tries not to lose hope. She grabs his hand. Ray starts moving, covered in that bright blue glow. Rai wakes up and catches Ara. Mana is swirling around them like a chill breeze. The one-eyed freak stops, sensing a change. Rai looks totally chill and awake, with mana flowing perfectly around him. He asks if Ara is okay, noting the corruption is fading. He tells her to back up. Ray smiles and says he has got this, flexing some crazy pure mana. She realizes this insane energy is Ray's restored mana path. The one-eyed beast attacks as Ray walks forward. Ray calls up a massive spell. He orders it to freeze, instantly trapping it in a giant ice block. Then he tells it to shatter and raises his fist. The crystal prison explodes, wiping the monster and its nasty aura off the map. Era sees Ray crush the mana into a crystal and blew it up. Even Ray is shocked by the heat he just packed. The elves are fangirling over Ray's new look and insane power. They say it is way past normal magic. Some wonder if a guy this strong is even human anymore. While Rai notes things have finally chilled out, he brings the crew together. He says there is some major news about the altar. He starts with the big reveal. Rai admits he basically inhaled every drop of the altar's mana. He explains the core stone is totally tapped out now. It is just a paperweight. The elves realize glitchy mana caused the gate to freak. They ask if that fixed his powers. Rai nods, adding he saw the altar's memories too. Those visions showed a dead world. An altar broke, dark mana flooded out, and every living thing mutated into a nightmare monster. Remembering that mental static, one elf mentions he heard weird voices coming from those lost, twisted souls. They remember the voices begging to dream forever and stay happy. It proves these monsters have a really tragic backstory. Everyone agrees they heard the same creepy message. They decide to quit overthinking the horror and figure out a plan for the altar. Rai drops the news. He's gonna rebuild it. The elves are floored. Is that even possible? Rai says sucking up its power gave him a blueprint of the whole thing. He explains the old altar was a wreck waiting to happen. With his new upgrades, they can build a much safer gate. Points out that rebuilding needs tons of complex magic circles and a massive new foundation to hold them. No one wants to patch up the old piece of junk. That is just a band-aid. Ara thinks and says she has one idea. She suggests they go hit up the dwarves. The others agree dwarves are gearhead geniuses, but they doubt the short guys will play ball given their messy history. Rai says he has a dwarf buddy he bailed out once. He should help, but he is too swamped to come build it himself. Rai decides the best move is to go learn the altar building secrets from his dwarf contact. His friends immediately dump the whole job on Rai since he is the genius. He just sighs. The scholar offers to warp Rai out. He wonders why the place is still stable with the altar gone and what happens before the new one is built. Elisa pops up, saying she can explain the piece. She jokes that she passed out before everyone else and just woke up, which is why things were quiet. Elisa projects a map and explains that the altar is basically the anchor for the entire world boundary. She adds that this altar is just the heart of a massive system. In terms of mana, the entire sanctuary is one giant magic machine. Because the machine is so huge, it has enough momentum to keep running, but she warns it is going to crash soon. Elisa warns the collapse starts the second the new heart that is Rai leaves the sanctuary. He is the one holding it all together. The crew realizes that since Rai absorbed the power, if he heads to the dwarf village, this place is totally toast. They wonder if they can find a backup power source to keep the system running while he is gone. Elisa says they need something linked to nature, something that can jump between worlds but still hang out in the physical world. She is talking about a spirit. The scholar complains that spirit magic is ancient history, but Elisa turns to Rai with a gift ready to go. She hands Rai a legendary magic book and says it is the secret to summoning a spirit. Everyone gawks at the rare book while Rai agrees to try it. Opening the tome, he feels a powerful presence staring back. He starts chanting the spell. Massive blue magic circles start glowing all over the holy grounds. A crazy windstorm kicks up right at the altar. The elves hold on tight, praying the ritual worked. Then, they see it. Ghostly feet start appearing right above the altar. A buff spirit with huge horns shows up. He is pumped to have finally reached a new intermediate world. One elf geeks out, saying he has only seen spirits in books. The spirit scans the area and asks who was brave enough to summon him. He looks at the elves and calls them basic high elves who are common in these realms. He locks eyes with Ara, feeling some decent mana levels. He checks out Rai but senses 0 mana. He arrogantly calls him a poser with no real power at all. Rai is confused, but the spirit says that even if they can see him, none of them are worthy of a contract. When Rai tries to explain they just need a quick hand, the spirit snaps that he is done listening. Saying he is out of there, the spirit starts to vanish. Rai and the elves watch as he fades away instantly. They note the spirit has a massive attitude problem. He must be a top-tier entity. Ara doubts this jerk will help them, but Rai just starts prepping the summon again. Saying it is the easy part, he summons him again, and a massive whirlwind rips through the room. The spirit gets yanked back, totally shocked that Ray actually had the juice to call him twice. He admits that was a flex, but thinks Ara did it. When Ray speaks up, the spirit just screams at the magicless brat to shut his mouth and stay out of it. The spirit goes off, ranting about how he will never sign a contract with someone so unworthy. He gets all loud and arrogant. Ray tries to talk, but the spirit just ignores him and starts fading out. Ray goes quiet. This negotiation is clearly a total waste of time. Since this guy loves running away, Ray decides to lock him down using a binding trick he read about earlier. Ray slams a bloody branch right into the floor to start the seal. He gets his head in the game. Touching his bleeding finger to his lips, Ray lets it drip to trigger the spell. The bloody branch starts glowing, locking the spirit down like a heavy anchor. For the third time, the spirit gets yanked back. He is actually impressed by the kid's grit and power. Ray tells him he is the one in charge, but he still does not want a real contract. Pointing at the branch, Ray tells the spirit to shut up and listen until he finishes what he has to say. The spirit laughs, saying nobody can keep him here, then suddenly realizes he is actually stuck. He panics when he cannot warp back home. He starts screaming, demanding to know what kind of trick this is. Elisa explains it is the binding seal Ray used. The spell actually tethers the spirit to physical stuff from this world, specifically that blood-stained piece of wood. Ara adds that using living components like blood and wood makes for the strongest anchors in this kind of magic. Furious, the spirit roars at Ray for having the guts to trap him. He lunges forward in a total rage, swearing he won't be chained down by some disrespectful little brat. The angry spirit tries to jump Ray to teach him a lesson. Ray just punches him straight in the face. Standing over the dazed spirit, Ray says he wanted to be polite. The spirit just stares, wondering if he really just got rocked. Ray mocks him, saying spirits act just like wild beasts despite their big talk. With a dark smile, Ray notes that wild animals usually need a little attitude adjustment. He cracks his knuckles, and the spirit starts sobbing. His pathetic wailing echoes through the ruins. Bruised and crying, the spirit starts begging Big Brother Ray to forgive him. He tearfully agrees to whatever contract Ray wants, just as long as the hitting finally stops. Instead, Ray just asks if he can reactivate that artifact for a while. The spirit checks out the altar and says with enough power, he can jumpstart the dimension controller for a short time. But he explains that since he is weak and only temporary, he cannot go full throttle unless Ray signs a real contract. Ray complains that the spirit could have just said that instead of causing all this drama. As the spirit apologizes, Ray tells him to explain the contract terms. The beaten spirit quietly agrees to cooperate. Cut to a dusty town by the river where everyone is coughing. Inside, a dwarf armor maker named Hobo is worried about his friend. Durf, the artifact maker, simply replies that his sickness was always inevitable. Durf admits he accepted his fate ages ago, but he is still stressed about one unfinished project. Hobo points out that Durf still cannot let it go. Durf insists he has to finish this job himself. Later, Durf goes quiet, clearly hurting. He coughs blood into a rag and realizes his time is running out faster than expected. Messy blueprints and notes for a crazy magic circle artifact are scattered across his desk, still waiting to be finished.